Hello, I'm Chad Morris, and today I'm going to tell you a little bit about my friend Ty. When I was asked to speak here today, I was hit with a slew of emotions. Of course, I'd be absolutely honored and privileged to speak on behalf of Ty. But I was also in great fear. Fear that I wouldn't adequately capture all of the great attributes and characteristics that Ty embodies. And then I was reminded that this is a celebration of Ty's life. And celebrate him we will. And then I was also asked a question. If the roles were reversed, what would Ty do in this situation? And well, that's an easy one. He'd be up here doing the exact same thing, and he'd be knocking it out of the park right now. By now you've probably heard Ty is a great guy. He's got an infectious smile. He's got an excellent attitude at all times. And he's just a great guy to be around. And if you've heard that, all of those things would be absolutely true. Always smiling, always joking, and always had an exceptional attitude that I admired, because no matter what the situation was, and no matter what challenges he was facing, he always maintained that great attitude. Ty loved his church, and he loved his faith. And most of all, Ty loved his family. He loved his wife, Jessica, and their kids, Sydney and Austin. He always talked about them. Every time he'd reach out and we would chat, he'd always have a story about how proud he was of them and all the great things they were doing. And Ty especially loved being a police officer. And he was so proud of you, Jessica. He was so proud that you were working in law enforcement. In fact, it wasn't long ago that I guess you guys had found yourself together on a mutual aid call. And you guys had a rare opportunity to catch a photo together, both in uniform. And he was so proud of that. He sent that to me, and he was so, so proud of that. And I want to tell you a little bit about how Ty and I met. Ty and I had a mutual friend. And this mutual friend actually was an apprentice working in the electrical business for Ty's family. And before I knew Ty or his family, I heard on many, many occasions how great the Linehan family was to this individual. He would always talk so highly of them and held them in such high regard for the great people they were and how much he'd learned from them. And one day, apparently he'd been talking to Ty, and he'd mentioned that he had a friend that was in a competitive shooting, and he also worked in law enforcement. And kind of the distinction or the nuance here was he had explained to Ty that I was also somewhat of a private sector defector, having been a business owner in the private sector and transitioned into law enforcement. And so this friend thought that it would be good for Ty and I to connect. And we did. And we hit it off and we became fast friends. And we had a great time doing a little competitive shooting together. And then at one point, Ty asked me, he said, "Hey, what do you think about me getting into law enforcement?" I said, it's been extremely rewarding to me, and it's been good to me and my family. And the people you get to work with are second to none. But then I gave him the disclaimer that I give everybody who asks me that same question. I said, it's a dangerous job. And that's a decision you'll have to make. I can't make that for you. And I never realized that that disclaimer would become real. But in short order, Ty jumped at the opportunity. He got himself into the academy, and it wasn't long after that my wife Dawn and I were attending his academy graduation, and I was so proud of him. I was like a proud brother he had set this goal for himself, and he'd achieved it. And not long after that, Ty joined our Citrus Heights PD family. And oh man, everybody loved Ty. What's not to love? He's always smiling. He's always got a joke for you. Always willing to lend a hand at a moment's notice. Whatever you need, he was there. And then shortly after that, he had a great opportunity with Galt PD. And he took full advantage of that. And it wasn't too long after that he told me he'd been accepted onto the motor team. And he was excited. He loved that bike. And so one day, being the jokester that he is, I thought, this is my opportunity to jab him back. So I said, "Motors, huh?" He says, "Oh, yeah." I said, "Oh, good. That's great." I said, "Did they give you the cool, shiny knee-high boots yet?" He goes, "They did." I'm like, "Oh, outstanding. That's great." I said, "Have you had the opportunity to ride in front of any plate glass windows and check yourself out?" And he did just that. He chuckled and he says, "I have." I said, "Oh, that's excellent. Very good." I said, "Well, how'd you look?" And he paused. He says, "Bitchin'." He loved that bike. He loved his motor brothers. He loved riding that bike. He was definitely in his place. One of the last text messages he sent to me read the following, and I quote, "I'm loving life. I have my dream job, and I wish I could do this forever. And in closing, I'm going to share something that's very special to me. This is a voicemail. This is a voicemail that Ty left me about a decade ago. And I know what you're asking yourselves right now. What kind of a weirdo hangs on to a voicemail for 10 years? And all I can say is that weirdo's me, because it must have meant something. So for those of you that know Ty, this is going to hit home for you. For those of you that don't know Ty, this is also going to hit home for you. If you could please cue the audio.
Hey, Chad, I was just calling to let you know that they were nice enough to give us lockers right next to each other. So if you're at your locker and you turn around, there's my locker, staring right at you. Just wanted to let you know. Found that pretty interesting. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Ty, I love you, brother. Until we meet again.